Paul Morphy had a unique problem. He crushed everyone and ran out of worthy opponents. And this video will explore 5 attacking rules that made Morphy so dangerous. Morphy is playing white here, and he was only 12 at the time of the game. He starts with a King's Gambit, one of the most aggressive and fun openings to play. Knight to f3, pawn to g5. Black also chooses this ambitious and objectively strong line. g5 solidifies this pawn, and also black is ready to play g4 and to attack the knight. Morphy goes pawn to h4, undermining this pawn chain, and black pushes the pawn forward. Now, definitely black does not want to just take here, because that would make it clear that black missed the class in pawn structures. That would make all these pawns really weak. So g4 is the way to go. That hits the knight, and Morphy jumps with the knight forward to g5. And while it is an aggressive position of a knight, he's also kind of like Morpheus from the Matrix, telling to black, like, do you really want to take the red pill? Because after that, there is no going back. The thing is, black can play h6, and he did, attacking this knight. And the problem for white is the knight has no way out. There's no way back, right? All these squares are taken by the black pawn. And therefore, white has to give up the knight for the sake of attack, which actually brings us to the first rule of Morphy. By the way, we don't know many quotes from Morphy himself, but one of them is, checkers is for tramps. And so we'll apply it here, meaning do not play checkers in the opening. Do not play too many pawn moves. Notice that all the moves that black played so far were pawn moves. And therefore, he's ignoring development, and this is really dangerous, which brings Morphy to the idea that he can sack the knight and launch his attack. By the way, that also uncovers actually another really classical rule of an attack. In order to attack, your pieces cannot attack through walls. Like, let me take this one step back. Think about this. There's only one piece, a knight, that can jump over pawns, but no other pieces can do that. And therefore, your other pieces, they're blockaded. Right? They're blockaded by pawns. They can't come forward. On the other hand, the pawns of your opponent shield his king. And therefore, in order to open up the position, you need to remove those pawns, and that enables your pieces to start attacking, and it exposes your opponent's king. So he captures this pawn on f7. Black recaptures. Now black is up a piece, but the king is exposed. Queen takes g4. White keeps eliminating those pawns, trying to target the king. Black goes queen to f6 to protect the pawn. But now bishop c4. Morphy throws in another attacking move, king to e7. Not a best move objectively, because he probably didn't want to go here, because he was worried about this check maybe. But either way, it was a better way, because king to e7, yes, there are no checks anymore, but it stands in the way of black's other pieces. And it's also there's another interesting thing. There was another legendary player, Anderson, who faced Morphy and oftentimes lost, and he was asked, why don't you play as brilliantly as usual against Morphy? And Anderson responded with, Morphy doesn't let me to. So it's like people crack under pressure. I think it was Carlsen who said this, but Morphy definitely used this idea way back. All right, so here knight to c3. Morphy goes with the knight threatening this fork, like plays c6 to cover up this square. And now he goes pawn to e5. Once again, opening lines for the attack. Because when you want to open up lines, open up the position, there are only 2 ways to do this. One is a piece sacrifice. We have observed it already. Knight takes f7. And the other way is to push your pawns forward. And then you either trade them off or just sacrifice them. So here he's pushing this pawn forward, sacrificing it. Queen takes e5. And by the way, quick question. Where would you move the white king? The king is under check. You have to move it somewhere, right? There are obviously a couple of ways to go. Which one would you choose? The move something like king to f1 would be a safe choice. But this is not how Morphy played. And there is another famous quote of Morphy where he said, help your pieces so that they can help you. The problem with the white king on f1 is that it locks this rook on h1 and it can't be brought into play. And therefore, king f1 is not the best option. Now, king f2, generally speaking, would be a nice move. That would enable rook coming here to e1, but white also needs to be careful. And even though it was a blindfold game, Morphy noticed that here black can double attack the king and the bishop. Therefore, that is not a good option either. And that means that the king went here, like a brilliant move. Typically, it's not good to keep your king in the center of the board, but here he does that to vacate the e1 square for his rook. And now black was afraid of this pain and played king to d8. Again, natural response, just trying to retreat from this danger, but it was better for black to play knight to f6 and counterattack. But again, it's interesting how Morphy put those threats over and over again onto his opponents and completely bamboozled them. Because the black player, he was actually one of the strongest players in States. Rousseau, he's author of the Rousseau Gambit. For the OGs, you know that it's a fun opening to play. But here you see that he's playing pretty bad chess, you know, he's just making a lot of pawn moves, completely undeveloped, and it's not because he's a bad player, but because Morphy is completely confused him with all his threats. Now he plays rook to e1, attacking the queen. The queen comes over here, threatening the bishop. And how would he play here as white? Actually, it's a simple moment in a way, but I also think highly, highly instructive. Because when you see that your bishop is hanging, right, somebody who's a complete beginner might just blunder it, but an intermediate player would notice that the bishop is hanging. But many players would play something like d3, protecting the bishop, or maybe retreating it back to b3. This is usually our default way of thinking. But if you look at games of Morphy and also Tal, you see that their way of thinking is totally different. And they know that targets are on your opponent's side of the board. And therefore, if you want to attack, if you want to capture something, if you want to destroy your opponent, you got to go there. And their way of thinking is always being focused on your opponent's half of the board and thinking how can you invade and how can you disrupt something there. And therefore here, even though the bishop is attacked, instead of just retreating, Morphy plays bishop takes g8. There's also something ironic that just a move ago, Black could develop this knight with a tempo, but now he lost the knight that he never even moved in this game. But the situation still remains to be tricky because Black counted for this move pawn to d5. That still makes the situation not that easy for Morphy. Now notice that it opens up this discovered attack of his queen. This rook on g8 is also a little bit hanging, therefore it's not easy. Now, how would he play here as white? Most of the usual players would probably just move the queen somewhere here, or maybe would retreat the bishop back to e6 to also save the bishop and the queen, but Morphy was made different. And as we're saying, don't judge a rook by its cover, he played rook to e8. And I don't even know how to call this, because there is Fischer random, chess variant, that randomizes position of pieces along the back rank. But here it's like Fischer completely random. And funnily enough, it is the best move for white. This also reminds me of the quote of Tal, where he said something like, I love to grasp the initiative and never give my opponent peace of mind. And Morphy tries attacking with every move that he plays. So here Black captures, and what it does is it distracts the king off the d8 square. It no longer guards the bishop. And instead of bishop hitting the queen, now the queen says, you know what? It's going to be the other way around. I'm going to be hitting you. Queen takes c8 with a check, and the king comes here to e7, the only square because the bishop cuts off this diagonal. Now, how would he play here as white? Now, the king is obviously very exposed, but it's still not easy. There's actually only one move here for white that wins the game. Now, I'll let you think about it for a few seconds. There is a tempting move like queen to e6 or maybe queen c7 or queen to b7, one of those. But white also needs to be careful because if you just play something, right, queen e6 looks very good, right, forces the king to go back. Now we can keep checking, queen f6, this time it's a double check and looks really good for white, right, Black covers, let's say we capture this rook. Now with one rook, we're setting it up for the attack on the next move, but actually it's really terrible for white because guess what, now it is Black to play and he can use this to start taking advantage of his own possibilities. Now the white king is also exposed and it has no defenders around it really. So it has to run. Now Black keeps attacking and basically that is it. Right? If the king comes back, there's bishop h4. And if the king comes here, there's even checkmate from f1. Which brings us to the fifth rule of Morphy. Give them no free time. Use forcing moves. And the forcing moves are checks, captures, and threats in that order. The most forcing move is a check, and he plays knight takes d5. Again, crazy to think that he was 12 and it was a blindfold game, right? But he still sold this crazy idea. Knight takes d5. Now, Black definitely can take the knight, but how can he do this? I mean, pawn takes d5 actually is not an option because now Black would play queen takes c5 with a check, grab the queen, and keep attacking. That is losing for Black. Okay, what else? Black could take it with a queen, but now the bishop from g8, that is still alive, could actually take it on d5. And by the way, we're having like completely crazy position, right, with most of the pieces standing still on back ranks. But now bishop takes d5, again, wins the queen, and white keeps threatening everything around. Therefore, white would win here as well. But if not, what can Black do? The king is under a check. The bishop cuts off these squares, as well as the queen, right? The knight is taking away this one. Therefore, the king really has not many squares to go to. And Black played king to d6. But now white finishes it off with queen to c7 mate. Morphy's attacks looked magical, but behind them there were clear principles. And if you love these ideas of principles that guide universal principles, then I cover that in my free masterclass. The link is down below. And if you want to study an opening that is aggressive, one of my favorite openings that makes it easier for you to play like Morphy, you can check out this video right there.